I would like to quote over here Charles Hockett, 1960s. He gave certain speech features. He actually provided with a list of speech features and mentioned that if any group, either human beings or animals, they possess all of these features, then their communication can be regarded as language. So in other words, these are the features of language. To describe the utterances by a particular group as a language, we have to see these features. What are these features? Now we will discuss them in detail, that on the basis of what grounds, on the basis of what features we can describe, we can differentiate between human communication and animal communication. My point number 1 is vocal-auditory channel. If you know about the vocal, yes, the way I produce the sound, vocal. And auditory, yes, the way I hear the sound. These organs are vocal organs, and these organs are the auditory organs. The human beings, they have proper vocal auditory organs to communicate themselves, to communicate their ideas. So this way, Charles Hockett, he provided a feature. There's these vocal auditory channels, or these vocal auditory organs, they are possessed by human beings. So as a result, they are able to produce language. But is this design feature of a language unique to humans? We need to reconsider it. Because according to these linguists, according to psychologists, and according to different researchers who are actually doing researches on animals, they came up with the idea that actually the vocal auditory organs, they are also possessed by animals. Animals, they have also the mouths, they also have the tongues, they also have the vocal cords maybe, and they also have the ears. You have observed so many animals around you, so you can see they have a proper vocal auditory organs. So it means that we cannot say that language is possessed by them, because if they have vocal auditory organs, maybe vocal auditory organs are not the only condition to possess a language. At the same time, there is another assumption that vocal auditory organs, they are considered as responsible for producing sounds and language, but at the same time, it has been observed that some animals, they produce sounds even without having any vocal auditory organ. Consider the example of rattlesnakes. They do not possess any vocal auditory organ at all. Or the woody woodpeckers, you have seen them a lot of times in cartoons. So they also don't have any proper vocal auditory organ, but they still are able to produce sound. So we cannot condition that vocal auditory organs, they are the only means to produce language. This is also exemplified in human beings' case. For example, it has been observed that in human communication, vocal auditory organs, they are important, but not that much important that we cannot condition that if a human being is not possessing any vocal auditory organ, or maybe if these vocal auditory organs gets damaged, so we cannot say that he or she won't be able to produce any sound or language. Actually, it has happened, it has been observed that patients with their vocal cords removed because of certain reasons or diseases or certain infections, they were still able to communicate. So it means that vocal auditory organs are not the only condition, because vocal auditory organs, they are possessed by human beings, they are also possessed by some of the animals. So this is the one of the design feature of language which is possessed by both groups, humans as well as animals. Now we will move towards the next design feature. arbitrariness. What is arbitrariness? Arbitrariness means that there is no connection between the form and its meaning. If you remember the word of Saussure, according to him, there is no one-to-one link between signifier and signified. If I say tree, then automatically an image of tree appears in my mind. But for a person who does not know English and he or she only knows Urdu, if I say word tree in front of him or her, do you think he or she will recognize it? No, because the words and their meanings, they are not interlinked. They are just arbitrary symbols. And human languages, they use the neutral symbols. If I say a word dog, the animal dog is itself not associated with the word dog. Because if it would happen, then in all languages of the world, the same dog, the same animal with 4 legs would be called dog. But it does not happen, because in every languages of the world, there are different words for the same 4-legged animal. Take the example of our own language, Urdu. We will call it a kutta, not a dog. If you are a German, you will call it ein Hund. If you are speaking Latin, you will call it canes. If you are speaking Greek, you will call it rodent. So see, in all languages of the world, there are different words for the same animal. So this way, we can say that words and their meanings, or the symbols and their associations, signs and signifiers, they have no link between each other. And this arbitrariness is a distinctive feature of language. In language, arbitrariness feature is commonly found in all sorts of for all sorts of words. Yes, we can say that okay, the words, they do not have any link, but at the same time I would like to mention exceptions. Yes, onomatopoeic words. If you are familiar with this word, onomatopoeic words are words in which there is a relationship between the symbols and their meanings. Bee, when I say there is a bird, a small little insect, bee, then automatically the word bee is connected with the sound that a bee utters. So there is a one-to-one relationship. Similarly, bang. Now this word bang, something happens terrible and you say bang. So this happens because something bang happens, so say you use the word bang, so there is a relationship. But to put it, there are only a small list of onomatopoeic words in all languages of the world. Majority of the words in all of the languages, they are not onomatopoeic. So they have this feature, arbitrariness. There is no one-to-one relationship between the symbols and their meanings. So now the question is arbitrariness is unique to human language? We have to consider it. According to Acheson, because some researchers, they have proved that this arbitrariness, it is not unique to human language. Because there are certain examples of few of the animals where we can see that arbitrariness is an aspect of animals' communication as well. Take the example of crab. A crab, when it wishes to convey extreme aggression, will extend a large claw. Okay, one claw of the crab, it would extend it beyond the other legs. So this way it is showing its aggression. Similarly, gulls indicate aggression by turning away from their opponent. If they are angry from someone, they would turn their back and then they would uproot beakfuls of grass. This way they show their aggression. So you see that their aggression word is not at all associated with their actions. So this way we can say that arbitrariness is a feature also common to animals' communication. It is not a unique aspect of human communication. The next design feature that was proposed by Charles Hockett was semanticity. Semanticity is the use of words to mean or to refer to an object and action. For example, when I say I'm sitting on a chair, so with a chair I have certain meanings. What is a chair? It is a kind of furniture. Yes, it is a kind of furniture on which you sit on. And then it has 4 legs. And in some cases, the furnitures, they have the backs and they have 2 arms as well. So with this, with the word chair, I have the semantic meanings associated to this word chair. But on the other hand, if I take the example of animals, when the same parrot, if I teach my parrot to say word chair, okay, he would utter it, word chair. But is he referring to the same object I am referring to, or he is just imitating me? Because this is our difference, that animals, when they say something, it is not yet proved that do or do not they mean the same thing. If an animal, if I teach my parrot to say table, but for me or for you, with the table, you have certain ideas in your mind. But maybe the parrot, it doesn't have any ideas related to it. But again, some controversies are there, because there are some writers and some researchers who claim that semanticity is also a feature of animals' communication as well. So now how they prove it? They give certain examples, as you can say, the example of vervet monkeys. Now what happens with these vervet monkeys? Whenever they want to show or whenever they want to express their feelings about danger, they have different kinds of sounds for different kind of dangers. If they are observing a snake, a different enemy, they will utter a different sound. Then if they would see a leopard, they would utter a different sound. So you know what is happening, that for every kind of enemy, for every kind of danger, they have different words, they have different sounds. So their communication system is quite interesting. Their communication of actually alarm calls, we call it, is quite interesting. Now let's see on some of the examples. Now these are some of the types by which the vervet monkeys, they make alarm calls. When they see a snake, when a vervet monkey sees a snake, it gives one call and to make other realize the same danger. And then other members of the troop, they would identify it and they would run away. And what they would do? They would stand on their hind legs. So this thing shows that they understand that their partner, the other vervet monkey who is signaling, meant to be a snake. So they identify that danger call as a call for snake. Similarly, if a monkey, a vervet monkey, sees a leopard, then what happens? He utters a different kind of sound. Quite strange, but it happens. And as soon as he utters that different kind of sound, all other members of the troop, immediately they climb up the trees. So it communicates the idea that they realize that their partner monkey is indicating what kind of danger. So it means they have a proper communication. They are providing the meanings, they are indicating their types of danger through 3 different symbols. And every symbol, every alarm call, every sound that vervet monkey will produce have different meanings. Type 3. If a vervet monkey sees a hawk, he produces a totally different kind of sound. And as soon as all other members of the troop, they would hear this sound, what they will do? They will quickly climb up the trees, and then they would stay near the trunk. And staying near the trunk shows that they are understanding that their partner monkey is telling them that there is a hawk in surrounding. Quite interesting, but it happens, and it has been observed in vervet monkeys. So this shows that the vervet monkeys, they have this feature of semanticity in their communication, because whenever they utter a different sound, it is meant to be something different and is communicated as something different to all other members of his group. But again, the question arises that vervet monkeys are the only examples for this kind of semanticity. This kind of feature has not been so far found in all other animals. So maybe it is a case of vervet monkeys where we can find this feature of semanticity, but not in the other animals. So to some extent, we can say that semanticity is a feature that is being more particularly related with human communication, and to only with few cases with animals' communication as well. Now our next point is displacement. Displacement is that you use language to say about people, to say about something that is not around you, meaning that thing is at a distance. For example, I'm sitting here in front of you people, but if I'm talking about my daughter at home, then I can talk, my daughter was wearing a red frock today. So I can talk about a person or an object which is very far away from me right now. This is the displacement feature of the language. So this way we can say that displacement is when we talk about abstract objects and events, and about all those objects and events and people which are not around us. Now the question is this feature of displacement is unique to human beings? In animal communication, it has been established that they cannot speak about the things which are not around them. But again, there is an interesting exception. And that interesting exception is of the example of bees. You have maybe heard about the bees, that they have different kinds of dances to mean different things. Actually, when these bees, they work in the groups, they have certain signals to communicate with each other. And what is the nature of their signals is the dance. They make certain movements to convey different kinds of messages. For example, if they want to inform their other partner bees about the location of a hive, then they would have a round dance. And if they would say that a nectar is close to the hive, they would be having a waggle dance. So in waggle dance, she wiggles her tail from side to side. So this way they are having two different kinds of dances to convey two different kinds of meanings, which are interestingly understood by their members. You can observe with the help of this picture. Look at the two different types of movements made by the bees. Figure 1, round dance, when they are moving their bodies in a round shape. And the second one figure, you can see that they are having a waggle dance. And both pictures make it clear that these are the two different types of movements, and these are the two different types of dances. And interestingly, these both movements convey two different meanings. So this way we can say that the bees, they can talk about the things which are not near them. For example, by these two dances, they are communicating the idea of a hive which is not in front of them but is around them. So they are communicating the idea of displacement. But again, we cannot say that a bee, if she is making 2 or 3 or 4 sorts of dances to communicate this idea of displacement, whether all the time it is able to describe that displacement, whether all the time a bee is able to talk about the things which are not around it, not possible. I think not have been proved so far as well. There are only 10 or 15 ways in which she can convey the message about the things which are not around it. But again, the researchers have found that the bees, they can communicate about the things which are within the distance of 10 meters around them. And if something is located outside that distance of 10 meters, they cannot communicate about it. So again, this idea of displacement is quite restricted for animal communication. To some extent, yes, we can say that yes, this displacement feature is basically a feature of human language, and in very few cases we can relate it with animal communication. But again, it mean the evidences are not that much available, so we can relate this idea of displacement with human communication. Our next design feature of language is duality or double articulation. In fact, our human language, it is structured, it is designed in such a way that it has two layers of meanings: the basic units of speech and the meanings which emerge when we combine them. The basic units of speech, you call them phoneme. For example, if I individually utter 3 words, 3 phonemes, P, I, G, these are 3 different phonemes. But when I combine them, what I will get? Pig, a word. So as P, I and G, they are the 3 different phonemes and they don't have any meaning. But when I combine them, this is the second layer where I get a meaning. A pig, I mean an animal. So in fact, in human languages, we have 2 layers of meanings, and this feature is known as duality. Now the question is this duality of patterning unique to human communication? Again, some examples are there provided by some researchers, that birds, as you can see, the birds, the singing birds, or the dancing or the singing birds, when they sing, it has been found that when the birds sing, they also have the ability to sing in duets. As it has been proposed by different researchers that the birds, they can sing duets. So it means they have also these 2 layers of meaning. When they produce the individual notes, these individual notes are meaningless. And when they combine these notes, they produce the meaningful musical sounds. So this way, we can say that this duality is also a feature of bird songs. So again controversy that this feature of duality is not particularly or solely related to human language. It is also a feature of human language. Now, what is the next design feature? Creativity. Creativity, productivity, it means to create a number of sounds or number of words or number of sentences without having any restriction. And you know, right from the very beginning of this slide, I will say creativity is only a human process. Yes, you also believe this, because as human beings we are able to produce hundreds of sentences which are standard, hundred of sentences which are never heard before. We can utter the novel utterances, we can say anything in any length. So this way, as human beings, our language is more productive, our language is creative. For example, take an example of a longest example. My mom said that Mary thinks that Bell is aware of the fact that what I found in his room under the carpet in a tiny box and a symbol of a rose was a Christmas present for Sue, which she asked for in her letter to Santa Claus. So look at the length of my sentence, how long sentence this is, and again there is no restriction. According to the grammar of this language, English language, there is no restriction that how much long sentence you can produce. As long as your sentence is meaningful, grammatically correct, you can produce a sentence of any length. So this way we are more productive. Another aspect of this related to creativity is recursion. Recursion is that when a linguistic unit, for example sentence or a word in a sentence, can contain a smaller linguistic unit of the same time again and again. For example, John said that, Mary said that, Aisha said that, Helen said that, Tropic said. So I can quote more and more people with this word said and making one sentence, and there is no restriction on it. So again, the human language, it has this feature of creativity and productivity, and very clearly it is a feature of only and only human language, because so far it has been never observed in any of the animals group or birds group that they can produce a number of sentences together, conveying so many messages together, or uttering some novel utterances. Mean their language is pre-planned, their language is already there, which we will discuss later, that their language is somehow innate as well. So this way, this creativity feature is only and only related to human language. Our next design feature is cultural transmission, as it is believed that language is an important aspect of a culture, and it is something which is transferred from generations to generations. And with the help of language, we are not only transferring a mode of communication to our next generation, but a whole culture. So what we do with the help of a language, we transmit our culture to our next generations. On the other hand, in animals and birds, language is believed to be innate. Yes, many researchers, they have proved that language, or I must not say it as a language, rather the human communication, it is creative, culturally transmitted, whereas the animal's communication is not creative, it is not something which is transmitted from one generation to next generation, rather it is innate. For example, if a child is brought up in isolation from all the human beings, it has been observed that he or she would not acquire a language. So it is proved that language by human beings is learned. It is being a process that is acquired. This is something which is acquired. It is not our mental ability to produce a language. As soon as we are born, we start producing a language. No, we learn it. On the other hand, the animals, in the cases of animals and birds, they have this language with them, and it has been proved that if a bird, it is kept in isolation from all other birds, it will still be able to produce certain notes. So the fact is, the thing that has been proved is this, that language is innate, there is no need in animals to learn a language. They have their language, they have this mode of communication with them. So this way we can say this cultural transmission process is only an aspect of human language. Our next factor is discreetness. Language consists of isolated items, and now I'm talking about human language. For example, look at the sentence, 2 birds sneezed. Now there are 3 sounds, 2 birds sneezed. If you look at the board as well, if I morphologically isolate these 3 items, then there are 3 words, 2 bird with sa indication of plural, sneeze and ed as indication of form of verb. And if I analyze the syntax, 2 birds, subject, sneezed is the verb. So we have these isolated units in human language, whereas in animals language and in birds communication system, this discreteness factor has not been found so far. Our next design feature is structure dependence. It is said that human language, it has a proper structure and it depends upon its structure. So human language is, in other words, is structure dependent. We have proper rules, we have proper set patterns to organize our thoughts. For example, if I say colorless ideas sleep, now what is the meaning of this sentence? No meaning. Though the sentence is grammatically correct, but there is no meaning. And if I say ideas green furiously bingle, so what is meant by this? Nothing. Because if I want to mean something, if I want to convey some meaningful expression, then I have to arrange these words in a proper grammatical order. Sneezed birds do is incorrect. 2 birds sneezed is a proper grammatical pattern, because for example in English there should be subject and then there should be verb, and then after verb we can have an object. I presented him a gift. So now I, subject, presented verb, a gift, object. So there is a sequence. A gift I presented is incorrect because it is not following certain grammatical rules. So this way we can see that human language, it is structure dependent. Whenever we say something, we mean something, we have to organize our language. I gave a carrot to a donkey. Now simply a simple statement, a simple active voice. But if I say a donkey was given a carrot, you know it is a passive. Now the object-subject position has been changed. So this way we can say the human language, it has proper unique structure, and in order to utter certain ideas, in order to communicate our thoughts, our feelings within a certain language, we have to learn the rules and organizational patterns of that language. On the other hand, the animals, they don't have this feature. Our next feature, very interesting, prevarication. Yes, as human beings we can lie. This is an aspect of which is restricted to only and only human beings. In human beings, I can say, I'm not wearing a purple color. I'm lying. Yes, I'm wearing. But in animal communication, they don't have any such idea of speaking a lie. So they don't have this feature of prevarication. Medium transferability. When we speak, we can change our mode of communication. I'm talking to you, but at the same time, if I don't want to talk to you, I would start writing over here on the board. So I can shift, I can change my mode of communication from speaking to writing. But in animals, it cannot happen. They have only the spoken ability to communicate themselves, but no written medium is available to them. Reflexiveness. We use language to talk about language. Yes, right now, as a linguist, I am talking about language, about the human language, about the animal's language, about the nature of language and features of language, about so many things. But on the other hand, the animals, they do not have at all this ability to talk about language. There are no linguists in animals group. There are no linguists in bird groups. Rather, it is only only human capability, human capacity to talk about such things. So reflexivity or reflexiveness is the feature only linked with human communication. The next feature by Hockett is turn-taking. Turn-taking, by word turn-taking, I mean that as human beings, when we speak in turns. It is not that when two people are talking, they are all the time talking, and one is speaking and the other is speaking, and who is listening then? To listen to someone, we say something and then we wait. The other person says something and then he or she waits and I will say something. So this way in human language or in human beings, we have this turn-taking procedure. And for example, hello John, what are you doing here? Now the first person, he would pause. Well, I'm looking for a workshop around. The listener, now his turn, and he would say, oh, there's one on your left side. So this way, one speaker, then the turn of the other speaker, the second speaker, and then the turn of the other speaker. And we take it granted that whenever we speak, whenever we communicate with each other, we take turns. But on the other hand, in animals, in majority of the animals, they do not have this concept. Yes, but in birds, there are certain cases where some of these birds, they can sing in duets. So this way somehow the concept of turn-taking is there in animals' communication as well. So we cannot restrict this design feature as a part of human language, human communication. Rather, it is a part of animal communication as well to some extent. Stimulus freedom. We can say whatever we like. There is no restriction. When you will ask me something, what color do you like? You do not expect at all to say that I would say red. If you expect red, it doesn't mean that I am going to say red. Maybe I would say black, I would say white, I would say green, I would say blue. I have a freedom. I have a freedom to respond, to give you a response in any way. I am not restricted to provide you with stimulus in the way you are expecting. Actually, as human beings, as aspect of human communication, the stimulus freedom, it provides us with a chance, with a freedom to say anything. On the other hand, in animals, you do not expect this stimulus freedom aspect at all, because they do not have, they have certain sets of symbols and sounds which are already with them, and they do not communicate beyond that sets. So far it has been observed, but in future any research can come with anything, so I am again putting a question mark. Next, learnability. Human beings, they have the ability to learn different number of human languages. For example, as a multilingual living in Pakistan, I can speak my mother tongue Punjabi, I can speak Urdu, at the same time I can speak English. So I have the ability to learn any number of human languages. There is no restriction. According to a linguistics research, a child can learn around 15 languages in the early stages easily. On the other hand, this feature of learnability is not possible in animals. There are certain researches in which it is happening that people, they are trying their level best to teach language to animals. For example, there were a group of scientists who tried to teach apes the normal human language, but they failed because they could not make apes to utter the sound the way human beings produce. So then they introduced a new system of language communication. They introduced an ASL, which is known as American Sign Language. Sign language in which you do not say certain things, rather you communicate with the help of certain symbols, rather with the help of certain gestures and body movements. So now they are trying to teach language to these apes in the form of signs. Look at this picture. A man trying to teach an ape a sign language. Then they do this and you will say you would be meant something. Now I will tell you one of the most famous experiments. There was a gorilla or a ape named as Coco. A person was owning it, and he tried his best to teach that ape the sign language. But what happened at the end? If that ape has learned the sign language, does it mean that he has acquired the language? No, we cannot say, because by language we not only mean this sign language, we mean much beyond that and much more than that. So this is quite controversial. We cannot say that when we are teaching a language in form of signs or in form of sounds or whatever form to an animal, then it is gaining the proper structure of that language, a proper understanding of that language, and whether or not he or she is going to acquire the proper function, proper knowledge about the functions of language, that at what time he has to use a certain symbol or a certain sound. So this way we can say that this is quite controversial. This learnability feature is particularly an aspect of human communication, but still we cannot say that this thing would never happen. Maybe in future there are still possibilities, chances, question marks are there. But with this feature of learnability, I came up with very interesting example that I would like to share of Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky, an MIT linguist whose theory that language is innate, because he was the one, he is one of the major linguists who believed that in humans the language is also innate, or there are certain features of the language that are innate. Though this theory is quite controversial, there are so many criticisms, there are so many theories against it and in favor of it, so we are not sure about it. But this person, when he said this, somebody asked is, humans can fly about 30 feet. That's what they do in Olympics. You know, the gymnastics, the acrobats, what they're doing. For 30 to 40 seconds, they are in the air. So can we call them that they are flying? Or can we call them that they are birds? So what the Noam Chomsky answered? The question is totally meaningless. So when we say that if a person is performing an acrobatic performance, then if he is in the air for 30 seconds, he is not flying. It's not flying. Flying is something else which is purely associated to birds. So this way we cannot associate that if an ape or an animal is able to produce certain sounds or certain signs particular to human language, so can we say that is that a language? That is quite controversial.